Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, boomers, shows, desolates, hearts, peasants, vassals. Today, Greece is the word. I'm Useful Idiot, and today I want to talk about Greece a little bit. And of course, the whole eurozone is going down, in spite of weekly claims that the euro crisis is behind us. Of course, we've heard that every week for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now, so it's getting to be tiresome. But let's focus in on Greece a little bit right now, because Greece is on the precipice, possibly falling into chaos and or revolution. And violence is really escalating there, which is saying a lot considering they've had daily riots and demonstrations for 4 or 5 years now, every single day. And just because the news outlets haven't been covering it doesn't mean that it hasn't been happening. So Greece has been descending into oblivion, in a slow death spiral. And now we are reaching kind of a danger zone. And experts are agreeing that there's a possible explosion coming in Greece. And it could happen in a month or so. Some huge tax hikes are supposed to go into place. And that's a real sore spot, because the Greeks that are still working are being asked to pay exorbitant tax increases, while the government has a huge list of all the elites in Greece and the rich in Greece who have evaded taxes with overseas accounts, and they are sitting on that list. So this is just the kind of recipe we will need to see to unleash this kind of violence that's coming. So what's going on in Greece? Well, in the last 10 days, there's been 15 armed incidents. So now we are seeing actual fought-out violence perpetrated against political and economic targets. In this case, offices of the governing parties were firebombed, homes of pro-government journalists were firebombed, the headquarters of the Prime Minister's New Democracy Party was machine gunned, and a bomb was exploded at a shopping mall. So this is not what we expect in a country like Greece that only 5 or 6 years ago had one of the best middle-class livings in Europe. Tourist trade, second to none. But now things have changed. And what is going to improve in Greece? There's nothing that's going to improve in Greece. Here's some numbers that put a face on the tragedy that is unfolding in Greece slowly and painfully for the last 4 or 5 years. They're now, of course, targeting foreigners. So they're rounding up migrant workers. 60,000 migrant workers rounded up so far. The suicide rate is 30% higher than it was last year, and it was high last year. The economy has contracted 7% this last year, and it's projected to contract another 4% next year, or this year, and I would say that it's probably going to contract another 7%. So imagine the catastrophe. For example, in the United States, if our GDP contracted 15% in 2 years. So that is what Greece is going through. They're lucky to only have an unemployment rate of 25%, although the youth unemployment is 60%, which is reflective of all the economies of Europe right now are getting to the point where they're having a 40, 50, 60% youth unemployment, and that is just a recipe, a ticking time bomb. And the Greek debt to GDP ratio is still 190%. After 4 or 5 years of austerity, their debt to GDP ratio is still 190%. Not only that, 20% of all the loans in the Greek banking system are still toxic after 4 or 5 years of bailouts. And not only that, Greek banks just asked for another 27 billion euro cash infusion, liquidity infusion. And this is after bailout after bailout after bailout, year after year in Greece. And yet they are still on the precipice. But that said, some of the other details that are coming out are very interesting and very telling, and as a historian, rather fascinating. Apparently, insiders are saying that there won't be a military coup this time like there was in 1967. In fact, a former government insider said that, quote, there are contacts by certain politicians with elements in the armed forces to guarantee that in the event of major social unrest, the army will not intervene, unquote. So pretty interesting. Quite a good thing to hear in some respects, because Greece has a very formidable military, especially for the size of its country. And now we're getting word that perhaps the military will not intervene should civil unrest break out and the governments and the country descend into revolution and chaos. And then the government can't really rely on the police either, because the police have had their salaries cut, they've had layoffs, they've had their pensions cut, and so the police are not going to be that reliable either. Although thus far, certainly riot police have been doing their job in Greece. But this is where it really gets interesting. The story came out that the government has hired Blackwater, now known as Academy, along with 5 other international private security groups, to protect the members of parliament, because they can't count on the army, they can't count on the police, but they can count on mercenaries. And now that's a very telling detail of what is happening in Greece right now. The government has to hire mercenaries to protect them, and this is certainly not without precedent. Remember when King George had to hire Hessians, German mercenaries, to fight colonists in America during the Revolution, and plenty of other examples as well. But now, I guess, since that story was printed, Blackwater, that is now known as Academy, has denied that they have any arrangements with the Greek government. But they didn't say anything about the other 5 international private security groups. And, of course, Blackwater, now known as Academy, could just say, well, we don't have a contract with them, because they probably already changed their name again already. That'd be my guess. So anyway, that's it's pretty interesting. It'll be interesting to watch these events unfold. And even though emotionally my heart goes out to the tragedy that we're seeing unfold in Greece, and the fact that the world has gotten used to what is unfolding there, and that it is so nonchalant about it, a commentary on the present state of things on its own. But I think it's interesting for everyone to watch this, no matter what country you're in, to see what happens when you have to wonder about the loyalties of the police and or the military. Certainly here in the United States, a lot of citizens are asking themselves, what side of the fence would the military or the police land on should there be massive civil unrest in this country, or a revolt against the government? As unlikely as it may seem, it's becoming less and less a completely impossible scenario. And so what side would they be on? You know, the U.S. government's worried about Iraqi and Afghanistan veterans returning to the U.S., and we also have the Oath Keepers and the law enforcement who have said that they have their allegiance to the Constitution of the people of the United States, so there could be a split there as well. But we also know that the government has felt it necessary to use mercenaries to protect diplomats and dignitaries and the higher-ups, and even in the military around the globe. What does that say about what they think about the reliability of U.S. troops and or law enforcement? So this will be interesting to see. I would imagine that we're going to see some fireworks pretty soon, the way things sound, although there's been so many fireworks going on for the last 4 or 5 years in Greece that it could continue on a slow burn. But just a heads up, we could see Greece tip into something quite a bit more by this summer, if not sooner. And we could be reading about Greece prominently every day soon. And plenty more going on in the eurozone, and I plan to do a follow-up to my other eurozone videos soon. But as you can imagine, there's so much happening so quick that it's hard to get to it. And as interesting as all the details are, but I want to do this one on Greece because things are really picking up there, and we could see something dramatic in Greece soon. So I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.